Okay, so this is the December 15th, 2025 meeting of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. I'm Diane Cece. We also have Sarah Hunter. So we've called the meeting to order. We are recording this. One announcement here is that I'm continuing to work on getting further information on the Cemetery Street and Gregory Boulevard lane changes, and um, better clarification on who exactly controls this project. Is it the city of Norwalk or is it the DOT? And is it the DOT in conjunction with the walk bridge? And I'm getting a bit of the city hall shuffle back and forth, but residents had noted and written in, and we've noticed that when they took the tree down, they essentially took the tree down and then just paved, and it doesn't seem to have had any drainage work that was done, which was this, supposedly was all related to. But now it seems like what they're saying is that they just needed to get that paving done for some reason to secure the road. And then none of the drainage work then would be done until the spring, is what I think I'm understanding now. I did write to the city to try to get more information on getting DPW operations and transportation, mobility, and parking to clarify everything. And rather than them responding, I'm just putting this out there so people understand how these things can be frustrating. Um, the city chose to have their director of communications out of the mayor's office respond, and simply to say that we could reach out to the DOT on our own to get information. Seems a bit ridiculous because clearly this is an East Norwalk project. That's, even though that's Route 136, it's our road. It's lane changes that are impacting us. Um, and then when I asked specifically to get some more information and also on who they think we should be dealing with at the DOT specific to the drainage, late this afternoon they referred us to the Walk Bridge team. Many of you know Stephanie Pelletier and some of the project engineers from the state DOT that work on that. So I'm not quite sure why that was a response, but I can tell you that prior to that, people have been asking for an update on the Walk Bridge project and all the components of it. And we have already, prior to this, we had already scheduled the Walk Bridge team to be our guests at our January meeting. And so they'll be coming in anyway. ENNA is going to try to get some more information about Cemetery and Gregory ahead of time, but at the worst case, we'll have them here in January, and I'll make sure that they're prepared to give us a who, what, when, why, and how on everything that's happening there. While I have you, I have a note at the bottom too. Because of the Martin Luther King holiday in January, we'll have our monthly meeting on Tuesday, January the 20th. Okay, and so public hearings and city meetings, it's pretty quiet right now because of the holidays. There's only a couple of meetings this week. One actually happens to be the parking authority. So myself or another ENNA person will be sitting in on that to continue to follow the work that they're doing to try to pull together a consultant and a project team to look at the residential parking passes for the city. And we want to make sure that East Norwalk is top of mind, especially when it comes to using one of our streets as a potential beta site there. And we expect these meetings to be the last official ones of the season because they all cancel the meetings for the holidays. And then, of course, come next month, we'll have a new mayor and some new folks on the council and a bunch of new things going on. So we'll keep you updated on that. The one of the things that is this week, though, is the second of two community listening sessions that Mayor-elect Barbara Smith coordinated to give people an opportunity to come out and actually talk about a variety of topics where they're setting up forums with designated tables for each topic or department. And if you didn't attend the first one that was last week, you can certainly attend this one. On the, oops, I'm sorry, I have 1210 there on the end. I meant to erase that. This second one is this Thursday, the 18th, starting at 6 o'clock. And this one's being held at the South Norwalk Library. So you want to to attend that one if you didn't attend the first one, or even if you did. And then also there's a small survey and other means that you could communicate with Mayor-elect Smith and her transition team if you're not able to attend either of those. ENNA posted the small survey link in our weekend email, and we'll also provide you with some group emails that you can send your comments, suggestions, and concerns into. And I plan to be at this one, at the December 18th one meeting, if I can. And I'm not sure if Sarah, maybe if you can check for me, or he can raise his hand, because I still don't see the whole
George, you mean?
I'm looking to see if Anthony Pena hopped on.
Hi, yes. Hi, Diane. I'm here.
Yeah.
Hi. Oh, that's great. Okay, thank you so much. Let me just do a couple things on the current business before we get to the ENNA agenda for looking ahead. I'm going to hop right back to you in a moment, Anthony, and thank you so much for joining us. He's going to be giving us a little bit of an update on key food market status for the former Rite Aid parcel on East Avenue. So we'll be right back to you in a moment. And then if you need to share your screen, we can, between Sarah and I, we can figure out how to do that here. Under current business, just a couple real quick updates. The city's historical commission and ordinance committee are both continuing to work on the demolition delay ordinance, and public feedback on that is still open. As your representative on ENNA, I attended their first public comment session and provided a lot of feedback on it. And I'll also be providing more. And then they're going to be continuing and having another meeting in January and more public comment. These are not formal public legal hearings. These are public comment sessions so that the Historic Commission can hear from you and all of us regarding how we want to see that ordinance work to best protect parcels and structures in the city that are of historical value. And I'll just back up on that for a minute. The reason why that's important is with all of the new legislation that's gone in at the state level and the zoning regulations that have already been approved within the city of Norwalk itself, we can expect for property owners and developers to start to look to expand housing, and mostly in around the Norwalk train station as part of transit-oriented development. But also to increase density and sometimes to do that, not just the density, but also the height of the building. And East Norwalk happens to have a lot of older structures in our community. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're of any historic value, but we want to make sure that this ordinance is so tight that that another historic structure doesn't get knocked down, without being vetted for whether or not there is value from a historic point of view, an architectural style point of view, the architect itself, himself or herself. Another consideration is former occupants of the structure and also uses of the structure. Those are some of the things that they take into account when they're considering property's historic or architectural value to the community. So I think you guys all share with me my concern about making sure that any parcel that is requested to be demolished in East Norwalk, again, goes through a well controlled and thorough vetting. And it's not necessarily that the city actually stops anything. There's a process that allows the city and preservationists to work with a property owner to actually be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish, but still pay respect to the original structure. Anyway, there'll be more on that to come later. And then I already mentioned the parking authority meeting. Parking authority meets this week, so myself or someone else will be there. And just to kind of listen in, if it's on the agenda, by the way, they actually haven't posted their agenda yet. We're waiting for that tonight. And then for the balance of the meeting after Mr. Pena, we're going to be talking about 2026 and looking ahead and talking about some possible new priorities that we want to consider. Okay, so I'm going to stop share. There I am on my green screen. Um, and Sarah, are you able to make Mr. Pena a co-host, or do you want me to try from here?
Let me see if I can.
Okay. Anthony, do you have anything a screen to share or?
No, I don't have a screen share. It's pretty much the
Oh,
same
okay. No,
entity
that's
last
okay.
time.
Then
So
we don't need to make a co-host. I don't think we can just.
Actually, I can't do that. I can't make him a
Okay.
co-host.
All right. No worries. If you're not sharing any screen or anything, then we can just we can just chat. So just to remind everyone, Mr. Pena is one of the owners of the Key Food Markets, among other the food franchise opportunities that are here in Connecticut and in Massachusetts, and they are the renters of record under the Rite Aid bankruptcy that was able to take over the existing Rite Aid parcel on East Avenue. And as you recall, he was kind enough to come in and give us a presentation a couple months ago about what their plans are. And we thought it'd be a good time to get a quick update from Mr. Pena. So
yes.
the
So
floor is yours.
thank you, Diane. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Yes. So we're pretty much very enthusiastic, working, trying to get the best model for the store in the area. And like I said, we love the concept that we're coming with, and we just submitted a permit to have demolition tenant fit up permit, which is cleaning up the inside, taking out all the shelving, the drop ceiling, and everything. Just make it a vanilla box, so that when we actually go in and actually bring in all the equipment and bring in all the changes for the inside, the layouts and things like that we have, the shelving. The one thing is now I didn't know. Well, I wasn't aware that the village East Village of Norwalk has a different zoning regulations. So we're in the middle of working with the surveyors so that we can put like walk-in like these storage coolers on the outside, where there's currently like a block wall there. So we're looking to put some of the coolers. I mean, we're gonna hide the coolers, and obviously they're gonna be very silent. They're not gonna make a lot of noise. So we're just going through the process to get that approved. So we want to make sure we do it the right way, and we have our surveyors working with the architect, the local architect, just to make sure that gets done correctly. So we're just awaiting on that approval so that we can continue the build out for inside the store. We already have everything in line as far as the concept and the equipment and everything. So as soon as I get that approval, we have the contractor all lined up. So we're probably about maybe a month to 2 months out once we get the approval to build out the store. So we're very excited. The little changes that we've done to the inside makes a whole different style of a store. I think the residents will be very happy, be very proud of what we're going to do to that, beautify that area. So like I said, we're very excited to come in and offer a lot of jobs to the local residents within the area. So
Thanks so much for that. Will the inside and the kind of general theme of things, how things will look like, is that going to stay pretty much what you showed us at the prior
um,
meeting?
yeah, it's going to be very similar to what I showed you guys.
Okay.
I may give it a little bit more of a lighter touch because it was a little bit darker. So the color
Mhm.
scheme will change. By the next meeting, you should have a full final. I think the next meeting, I saw that it was January, right?
Yes. Mhm.
So by January, before January, that meeting, I would like to come on again if you guys, would love to have me, so I can show you guys the final rendering. It's going to be a very beautiful store. It's going to take into consideration everything about East Norwalk, the boats, and we're going to really make it we're going to enhance it a lot more to showcase, what East Norwalk means to us. So
Mhm.
there's going to be some nice antique photos that you'll see throughout the store. It's gonna be
Mhm.
nice. I mean, you guys will be very happy for it.
So you're technically grandfathered under the existing regulations when Rite Aid was here because this is just a tenant fit up, correct? So in terms of setbacks and
Yes,
all the new regulations, um, that doesn't really apply to you, correct? Or
yes, that's correct. The only thing is, since I want to do the walk-in coolers on the
Mhm.
outside, I just want to make sure that it follows the current
Mhm.
guidelines that were I think were set. So we're up to date with all the current guidelines and everything else. So we
And
just want
when
to
you
kind of
say the
make it blend
guidelines, though,
in.
you're talking about through zoning as well, correct?
Yes, the zoning, exactly, and the
Okay.
architectural. We don't want
Okay.
to go there
Gotcha.
and put like a black and red building. We want to make sure that it matches the decor of the area, and
Mhm.
which we're fine with, and I love it actually. I love that old New England style.
Mhm.
So we're very happy with that. We want to make sure we keep it uh,
Okay. Great.
as it is. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the primary concern, just so that we always keep this on the table. Well, first of all, with those coolers, though, because parking is at a premium there, the way that layout is. When you do those coolers, then is that going to impact your delivery space, and or what
No,
the
no,
parking
no,
is
no.
now?
Yeah, no. Luckily, that we'll be able to do it in a way that it doesn't interfere with parking and deliveries. Also, I mean, we'll do. We have to consider the delivery schedules. So that it doesn't affect the parking. I mean, you will have early deliveries like 6 a.m. deliveries, so that midday rush. Would have all the available parking throughout the day.
Okay,
So there's a couple of
gotcha.
things that we're gonna do on our end to make sure that
Yeah.
we facilitate that.
Yeah, and then I'm sure you'll be working with the city to make sure that the traffic impact coming out onto St. John doesn't bottleneck there because of the way the I hope they retime it anyway, but the timing of the light at St. John onto East Avenue is challenging with the
Yes.
gridlock there. But they'll be looking at your traffic counts even, or do you know?
I don't know, to be honest. I spoken to the two building Leo, the building inspectors, and I spoke
Mhm.
to I think Steven over at zoning.
Mhm.
So I haven't had any mention of the traffic count yet. So if that does come up, then we'd obviously try to find the best solution for it.
Okay, thanks. And then the final thing is I think I don't know if it's when you and I spoke or at the meeting, the public meeting, where we spoke about the possibility of you also approaching the Norwalk Parking Authority to see if you could have some mutual agreement with limited short-term parking at the commuter lot there for people that are just running in to get a few things. Were you able to reach out to them or?
I didn't reach out, but I do have plans of doing that.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I know that during peak, I'm looking at roughly peak hours. And if I'll be able to use that lot, because I know that that's a commuter lot. So, and I know
Mhm.
at night they have the staging area in the back there. So if I'll be able to,
Right.
utilize my customers will be able to utilize that lot, whether I pay a fee or whatever it is, then I'll be more than glad to
Yeah, or
to
at
to,
least to
to
have
do
it
that for my
limited,
customers.
to maybe, 30-minute, key food, only or 15-minute or something where, people aren't going to be burdened by having to put in license plates and, be a part of the whole system. But yeah, we can discuss that further offline. Um,
Yes.
okay, perfect.
Hey,
Um,
Diane, I see
yep.
that
Mm.
Becca has her hand up.
Oh yeah. Oh, hi, Becca.
Hi, Diane.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Anthony.
Did you have a question for Anthony while we have him? It's so
I
nice of him to
did.
hop on here.
I did. After Anthony, after you came to visit us back in October, I had sent you an email asking if you have any plans to include a bike rack on the property for
Mhm.
people who might want to come to the store via bicycle, and what your plan is with the city for having a bus stop there, because not everyone's going to come by car. And it's really important to me as an East Norwalk resident who tries to travel by means other than car that I have a safe way to get there and get my groceries locally. Thanks.
Hi, hi, Becca. Yes, that's a very good idea. I'm sorry I didn't respond. I must have a bit bypassed it, but yeah, we will. Actually, I was looking with zoning. I wanted to put like benches in front of the store,
Mhm.
and also possibility now that you mentioned the bike rack. I think there was a bike rack on the side there before. Because when I used to go
Mhm.
to when it was a Rite Aid, I remember seeing some type of bike rack. Well, I don't know if it was just, but we will be putting something like that. And as far as the bus stop, I'm not too sure how that works. But I can look into it. I mean, if maybe you guys can help me with the logistics behind it, or who I can talk DOT. Maybe
Yeah.
speak to somebody at DOT
There,
that can help me facilitate that. But yeah, we will be putting in a bike rack if zoning permits us to.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And Becca, I can tell you the city buses do stop there at the corner there at Rite Aid on both sides, going north and south. But there's not like a bus stop shelter. when the city was doing the improvement redesign under the whole East Avenue roadway improvements, one of the things that came up repeatedly was to be able to have sheltered um, seating, um, especially wherever related to a bus stop. But I think that there were, a bunch of regulations they had to look at in terms of positioning and setbacks and things. But since we're going to be getting an update on the East Avenue roadway improvements, I'm going to ask that question as well from the city. And then if it's something though that we'd like there and it's just not already in that project, um, then I think certainly, Anthony, I'm not going to put down the spot, but I know you're always open to talking about things that you can contribute to help the community, even if it's not directly related to the store there, and that might be an opportunity. So I think it's a good
I
idea if
would
we
love
could
to,
talk
I
about
would
it.
love to do that. I would love to figure out a way that we can put a bus stop there with a shelter or
Yeah,
whatever it is that we can facilitate for this for the community.
Oh,
So I
that
would love to do
yeah,
that.
so super. Yeah, I'm looking on the app right now, and I think the nearest like official stop, even though you can technically flag down the bus anywhere, is Raymond
mm,
Terrace, which is fine. It's not like
yeah,
waiting in front of the store,
yeah,
which would certainly be easier. But I have some
yeah.
friends who are working with NTD on a shelter project, so I can definitely try to
Great,
pitch Key Food as an idea for a stop that should be prioritized for sheltering.
great. Thanks, Becca. Okay, so thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Talk about on short notice to hop on. Super appreciate that. You and I can talk again, I guess, right after the holidays. And if there's something significant, that you want to talk about and bring to the community prior to the or after the January 20th, because we do have the Walk Bridge team coming that night, and that's going to be probably take the whole meeting. Just let me know and we'll see if we can either pull together a special meeting or something that we can get out to the community in writing and then do a follow up as you get closer. And then, like, literally, opening date. Um, so then, are you still thinking of March?
Um,
If you have this
if
February
if I get
window?
if we get the permitting, if we get, let's say, permit approvals in January,
Mhm.
we're gonna very much shoot for April. I mean, it'll probably be
Gotcha.
April, May. So it'll be a springtime opening, which I love springtime openings because there's so much I can do. I can put I like flowers. I'm
Mm,
into beautifying the area, so I can do a lot of stuff with the vendors. Put tents on the outside. Make it a nice, attractive, grand opening. So I mean, there's a lot that we can do in the springtime. It's my favorite time of year, by the way. So,
great.
I would love to do it. The earlier the better. I mean, if I get approvals the end of the month, then my guys say there's about 2 months worth of work.
Mhm.
I have all the equipment already lined up. I have everything in line. I have everything in storage. So I'm just waiting for the approvals just to start working. So I've been, ready for this, and my family is
Okay.
excited and
Yeah.
wanting to invest in East Norwalk. My father, like I said, we live right down the street, and whatever it is that we can do to beautify the area. I'm even thinking, I saw on the agenda Penny's Diner, which is funny because we were even looking at that to
Mhm.
convert that into like a chips, the chips breakfast spots.
Mhm.
We're looking to do something like similar to that. Nice.
Yeah.
I think that area needs a nice family style breakfast. Similar to a diner, but a little bit more Elms, like
Yeah.
Elm
Yeah,
Street
I think that
Diner.
would be interesting. I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Yeah,
Um,
no, we're actually we're very interested. Anyone knows of how we can get in contact with? I think I think the Greek, the
yeah,
owners of that diner, the
yeah,
family. I know that the father, I think, passed away, or
mhm,
not. The owner
right,
passed
yeah,
away, but I would
yeah.
love to,
And the
get
city
it.
does have their contact information out. All I have is mailing information, but I'm sure someone in the city can hook you up. This is on the assumption that they haven't already sold to a developer, which
I
many
hope
of us
not.
suspect they have. But it's certainly something if you looked into it right away. The one thing that I've heard from people with that news of pennies is that it's really so nice to have a diner right there, and for after
Yeah,
church, and for it was a go-to place for late night city hall meetings, and a whole host of reasons, and to have something that's activated there, could be nice.
Yeah, and I mean, another more buildings there. I mean, it's just traffic is bad enough as it is already, but having
Yeah,
more development there is going to be a little bit tough. I mean, but we
yeah,
would like to see if maybe we can get an opportunity to invest in that
mm,
space and make it like a
mm,
nice
mm.
family style diner, which is what we're looking to do. But if if
Yeah,
that if
yeah,
that if that if that's the case, then we'll be more than glad to invest and do that. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
But I would
I'll
say,
follow
just
up.
if you have a lot on your plate, but that's the type of thing you might want to hop on right away. Then, if you're serious, because
Yeah.
that parcel is, it's one of the three that we always knew was targeted specifically by the city for residential and mixed use development. So, okay. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome
Diane.
as
We'll
always
talk
to
offline.
stay on the meeting, or you don't have to feel compelled to hop, to stay on all night. And wishing you and yours healthy and happy holidays. And we'll talk to you next month.
Same to you. Merry Christmas to all you guys, and I'll talk to you guys in January. Thank you, guys.
So I just want to spend a few minutes talking about some ideas that I'm kicking around. I've talked to one or two board members about looking ahead to 2026, and I know we've had this conversation before, kind of like, what do we really want ENNA? What are we now? What do we want to become? What are people's goals for being part of a neighborhood association, for what you want to see it develop into? Um, and it's kind of funny because I was talking to one of the board members, and we thought what we were going to do for this meeting was kind of a 2025 recap, looking back on 2025. Um, but honestly, there's been just a number of things that have impacted East Norwalk in such a negative way, unfortunately, that I just didn't have the heart to kind of go back and recreate that and do a presentation on it. But I think we will do that. We'll probably do that in an email, just to kind of recap all the things that we've been involved in, good, bad, or the ugly, from this year. But looking ahead to 2026, or priorities and projects, really wanted this to be an open dialogue. If you're shy or you just don't want to speak up tonight, I just want to remind folks, please, you can always send in emails. And that's really great for me, because it gives me an opportunity. Like, I can look at those at midnight, or on Sunday mornings, and it gives me an opportunity to reply directly to you, and then consider it for a future meeting. So if there's something that you want to talk about for tonight, but you'd rather not do it in the Zoom, then you can certainly email us. So I'll just run through these quickly. These are kind of bullet points, and we can come back and talk about any one of these. But one of the priorities that we've been talking about for several years now, or one of our goals, really needs to be a priority for 2026. In the past, say 5 years or so, or going back even 10 years, one of the things that's become really evident um, to ENNA is the fact that we don't really have good representation within the city government representing this part of the city. And we need that. Even though elected and appointed officials really are supposed to be representing the entire city, even if they're coming in, from a specific district, we found that 06855 proper and a whole chunk of 06851, right over the, right beyond the highway there, really is very poorly represented, in terms of common council, a bunch of commissions, agencies, and authorities. And the ones that we do see getting appointed typically are, I don't want to say that they're just feel good commissions and things, but we really need people to be able to step up and be on, say, the Planning and Zoning Commission, um, or the Parking Authority, or any one of the agencies. And there's a whole list of these, but we're really looking for people to be able to step up to the plate for something that either they have a professional or personal interest in, or they just want to give back to the community and feel that one of these opportunities would be something where you could contribute even if you don't have any prior expertise in it. I know one of the things that the city is looking to do is to make sure that there's always an updated list on the city website and public outreach that would let us know all of the upcoming openings for which terms are coming up for positions on any of the commissions, agencies, boards, and authorities. And that's one thing that you really kind of had to hunt around the city website and go to each one of those to try to figure out whose term is ending and what might be coming up. So we're going to be monitoring that and hosting upcoming openings and working with the city to try to figure out the best way of communicating that. But in the meantime, it's really important, I think, for folks here, and we'll have it in our email blasts again, to start thinking about all of these different groups that you might want to consider volunteering for, and submitting your resume or a cover letter that just express your interest. Some people in the past have actually submitted letters to the city clerk and the mayor just saying, this is my background, but I really have an interest in serving the city in any way that you think that would be beneficial. So even if you don't have a particular level of interest or expertise, but you want to serve in some capacity, we think it's important to get those in there. I'm not going to call these people out, but I do want to thank the two people who immediately submitted for consideration to what's going to be the new urban forestry committee that will be formed after Mayor-elect Barbara Smith takes office, hopefully fairly soon, given the angst that we've had around tree canopy and trees in East Norwalk. And so one of the things that I'll look to do too, I think that the city has a hopefully a one-page write-up, or I can put it together or ask the city clerk to do it for us, is just a blurb on each of the commissions, agencies, boards, and authorities, just saying what they do, how often they meet, how the appointments work, because some appointments have to have a balance between political parties and or also have a balance between representation throughout the city. So it may be that you can only have so many from one district, for example. So I'll be trying to pull that together, but you can always just hop onto the city website, go to the tab under city government, and then you can just scroll through all of the opportunities that would be city appointments. So I think that's really going to be important. And I know it's a big ask to ask people to step up and serve in these roles. There are some of them that just meet once a month, but there's others like planning and zoning that meet at least twice a month, sometimes more. And the commitment to doing, I'll call it your homework for lack of a better term, but a lot of times there's a lot of reading involved in these appointments, in these positions. And so we want to make sure that people know what they're getting into. And also there are some positions that have, say, a 2-year term. And I think there are some appointments that maybe even have like a 6 or 7-year term. So that's something else that you want to consider as well when you're looking at these. Okay, are there any questions or hands up on that, Sarah, before I go on to the budget process one? If you're still on there, I'm not even sure if Sarah's still on there. I know she has to
Now I
hop
hear
off.
you again. You had stopped. I didn't have your audio for a moment there, but I hear you now.
Yep. Any hands raised for questions on the appointments to commissions and things?
I'm looking. Nope, no,
Okay.
no hands up.
Okay, and we can come back to these each one if we need to. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is, so from ENNA's point of view, just about everything that impacts our quality of life is directly related to a department at City Hall. And if it's not, it's probably related to something at the state level that's actually a mandate anyway that comes down through City Hall. So what ends up happening is all the decisions about what gets done and not done in the city end up being a part of budget processes. And that would be both the operating budget in terms of manpower and all the things that support that in the city, and also the capital budget, which looks to fund capital projects, infrastructure and building and improvements and things like that. One of the things that ENNA would like to see is for there to be more resident engagement in the budget process, and actually citywide. Other neighborhood associations and civic groups have been kind of begging for people to get engaged in terms of understanding the budget process, which hopefully is going to be a little bit more simplified this go around, but also being able to focus in on the things that we know are going to impact quality of life here in East Norwalk, and be able to send in emails and speak at public hearings regarding these things. And at the very least, to be able to send your comments, concerns, and questions into us at ENNA, because then when we're presenting our public comments, we want to be able to make sure that we're incorporating specific feedback coming from the community versus what we just know, by virtue of our role here, working with all of you. And I don't have that calendar in front of me, but in the next email, I will post the city's official budget budgeting process calendars and how that works. Okay, Sarah, just shout out if you see any hands go up. Otherwise, I'll keep going.
I don't. Just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. And then I never can actually see the chat room without hopping around and losing everything else. So if you can just monitor chat too.
Yeah. I
would
don't
be
see
grateful.
anything in chat either.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is just building ENNA awareness and some street coverage. As recently as the whole I want to call it the debacle, but the whole thing that we just went through with the cemetery and Gregory reconfiguration there, where the city took down the beloved oak tree. One of the things that happened during that process with my engagement is I started finding out again that there are a lot of people that go, "Oh, we have a neighborhood association? I didn't know that. I never heard of them." So I think another 2026 thing that we really need to work on is to make sure that people are aware of ENNA and make a concerted effort again to try to get street coverage where we're reaching out to people who live on particular streets to just say, hey, just stick a flyer in your neighbor's door. Or if you have an email list for your street, just make sure that people are aware of us. From an ENNA point of view, it's important for us to make sure that people are informed and engaged, but they don't have to be. But we just want to make sure, from our point, for our role, that they know that we exist. So if they don't want to participate, that's on them, and that's okay. But if they're not even aware of us, then kind of shame on us and all of us that we're just not getting the word out there. So I have that on the list as well. The next item is City Departments 101 forums. So we do get a request from you residents all the time about hosting more kind of just government 101 forums. But when we ask for a list from you of which departments you'd really like to hear from, it's kind of crickets. So, I mean, we can bring in the usual suspects, if you want Recs and Parks and Planning and Zoning and Public Works, etc. But I think, over the next few weeks or so, if we can just kind of peruse on the city website, all the different departments that are there, and send in to us the ones that you'd be interested in hearing from, including like the tax department, the finance department, the purchasing department, whatever your particular interest is that you think that may be valuable for the community to learn about. And for the most part, city department staff have always been pretty eager to come to ENNA and talk about what they do and take questions. Even for some of them, if it means coming into the lion's den, they still come. So we want to be able to have this service. And then speaking of those forums, one of the things that we're looking to do is make 2026 the year that we meet in person again. and be able to manage it as hybrid meetings where it's in person. But the folks who now have participated with us for the past 5 years, because we are on Zoom, we don't want to lose those folks. And so we're going to look to do hybrid. And we have a couple of different locations that we're going to consider. And we ask that any of you that are aware of available space, we'd like it to be in East Norwalk proper, but we can go across the line if we need to. And in fact, I was just communicating with the Marvin again today, because that's where we used to meet. And, and they actually reached out to me to say that we're certainly welcome back there. So we have that on our short list.
Hey, Diane,
Yep,
Scott
yep.
has his hand up.
Okay. Hi, Scott, go ahead.
Hey, Diane. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Hey, so one thought that I had about that was going back to what you were talking about with in engagement. Do we do, when I say do we do, I know we haven't in the couple of years that I've been involved, the 2 or 3 years. What about coordinating with some of the other groups, like, let's say, the Wall Street Neighborhood Association or
Yep.
the Green Association, that kind of thing? And I'm thinking about the event, Diane, where I know I saw you right before the election that was up at the church there, where I think a few different neighborhood organizations were brought together by Nancy on Norwalk. And just thinking, if there's strength in numbers, are there opportunities where our interests converge with these other neighborhood groups, and we could all get more out of it and maybe get more out of the city as a response?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I definitely agree, Scott. And for the City Hall Neighborhood Association in Wall Street, we did, commit to, being more collaborative on these things. In terms of strength in numbers, this topic comes up all the time. We really need to get back to having a coalition of the Norwalk Neighborhood Associations. Just so that in addition to these, more informal collaborations, depending on what the topic and the proximity is, that there's really more of a formal thing that everything kind of comes up to. And that, when the pandemic hit, and even maybe prior to that, that really kind of just start to fall apart. But I really think that we need that again, for all of the parts of the city to be able to have the coalition again. They didn't really have a motto, but I know when it started and as we continued it, we kind of had this slogan that, if it can happen here or not happen here, then it could happen or not happen where you live.
right.
And that's always been the case, even if it's something as, as diverse as, comparing South Norwalk to, say, Cranberry, for example. People didn't realize how many things, could actually impact both. So yeah, I agree with that, but definitely Tony Pavia and Brad Craighead, and then also the Wall Street folks, just because of the proximity and because we share, the common East Avenue and the river, for example. Those are the most likely, and we did commit to working together and making sure even if it's something that we don't necessarily.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I was just going to mention, because it has to do with it a little bit. Lisa Rogers posted in the chat, would the Cemetery Street development have any interest in being a host site for ENNA meetings? And Judy responded with, that'd be wonderful. I think that's what's going on in chat. Which, just because we were talking about meetings, I wanted to get it in there.
Yeah.
I might leave behind a tuna sandwich, though. So
I'm sorry, say again.
Oh, I said I might forget a tuna sandwich and leave it behind somewhere there in the building.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Hey,
I would never.
One of the things before the entire, some of you guys will remember the initial presentations that Descala did for this project. And so what you see now today bears literally no resemblance to what that was going to be. But in the early discussions, in terms of being a good corporate, or development neighbor there, one of the discussions was to be able to, to have some meeting space, but it certainly wouldn't be large enough to accommodate our forums. It could be something that, for smaller meetings like this one, But for our community forums, there wasn't in any expectation that they would have space large enough. Now, I haven't actually done a walkthrough over there. I'm gonna have to go with my Groucho Marx disguise and everything on. I don't know how that would work, but
Hey, just
I think for
we all agree we're all adults, be on our best behavior, and whatever
yeah.
if they say no, they say no. But
Yeah, and I think for like I said, for smaller meetings, I don't think that would be a problem. It's one of the things they originally had committed to, but that whole long list of the things that they committed to, not one of them has come to fruition. So now, having said that, though, Scott, there's a couple of other places um, that are on our radar screen that I think would love to have us, and so that's why we're looking to see if we can set that up. But again, one of the key things is that we need to be sure that we can have this technology in place, to be able to manage the
do both
hybrid.
in person. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Somebody
Yeah.
has asked
But I think like
on the
for
chat,
small
someone has
meetings or committee
just,
meetings.
oh,
Oops, sorry, Sarah.
I'm trying to get the chat participant stuff heard here too. So somebody has asked on average, what do we have for monthly meetings for people? And I just replied, it depends a lot if there's a particular focus. I mean, when we had
Yeah.
the Norden thing, we had, I think, over 100 people on a meeting. And then
Right.
today there's
Yeah.
nothing particularly on anybody's mind. So you've got what, 15 or 20
Right.
people.
You've
So,
got
and
you've got
yeah.
9 days to Christmas, and
Yeah, exactly. It's the time of year. It's what the topic is, and it's what we're competing with
or
too.
first night of
It's
Hanukkah,
one of
depending on what you celebrate. So
Second night.
yeah.
second
There you go.
night. Hey,
One of the
my
reasons
calendar
why
lied. Sorry.
a lot of times people ask us why we keep our meetings on Monday night, but we do that because it does mean that we're competing with very little from the city level. Although there's some political stuff with like I think the Democratic Town Committee and Republican or their caucuses or something that happen, but the actual formal city meetings are very rarely on Monday nights, unless it's like the BET or something. So. Um, that's kind of but other than that, it's exactly what Sarah said. It could be 12 of us, or it could be 150, depending on the topic there. City apartments, the state level. The other thing is, and they always offer, so if there's an interest in this, please let us know. But we very seldom have our state reps for our district come in. And so if that's something that folks are interested in, to keep up with what's going on with what legislation they're proposing and what's coming up in the legislative year, or just maybe to get a state government 101 and how what they're doing up there impact what we do in Norwalk. One of the things that they could talk to, hopefully in layman's terms, is state statutes. There's a lot of things people will sometimes come to me and say, Diane, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And or even in the city, we'll say, why isn't the city doing this and doing that? And the way the statutes work is that governments, city governments, municipalities can only do things that are enabled by the state, by a state statute. And so if there's no state statute that's enabling something for a municipal government, then you can't do it. And then it's incumbent on either our local government or for residents and voters and to lobby to get changes to allow things to be done. But if you folks wanted to have Kadeem Robertson or State Senator Bob Duff, either in general or on particular subjects, and let us know that, because I think it's important. It's also important because there's a lot of things that impact East Norwalk that comes down from the state level. And then when we're telling you that in addition to ENNA speaking out on your behalf, that we really need you to send emails and phone calls to our state folks, is sometimes people don't even know who they are, and I think it'd be good to to actually meet these folks, albeit even in Zoom. Okay, and then civic events to build awareness and engagements. This is another one we get a lot of requests on. So, in the past number of years, basically the only real civic type of thing that ENNA has been engaged in is the annual shredding event day that we started. where that's open to the community. But it's not really like, civic stuff like we used to do 2 major community cleanups a year, um, or, partnering with other civic and municipal groups within the city whenever there are events to improve our community. So I just want to throw that out there that we hear you on this, and we would welcome any ideas and suggestions you have for civic events within East Norwalk that you'd like to see ENNA sponsor or coordinate. And then that
we do
leads
have
into.
we do
Sorry.
have some more things in the chat,
Okay.
which is let's see here. We've got Deborah. I can present the idea at Christ Church, but they could only accommodate maybe 40 people, and the open day there's Wednesday. Then we have from Becca, Kadim's meeting this year was great, but what was the last time Bob joined us? Also would love to have Nicole and Anne from City Council. There. I don't think you can see the chat, so I thought I'd just read it there.
Yeah. Okay, now mention there, thanks for that too. Yeah, and I think that we'll also be looking at, well, I mentioned this at the last meeting, so I'll mention it again here, is reaching out to the folks who now have the rental space at the Masonic Lodge. And then also, while we still have it, the St. Thomas Family Parish Center, the old St. Thomas School as well. One of the things that we don't want to use, which we can use, is the East Norwalk Library, but it's not accessible under ADA, so we tend to shy away from that. But even something with 40 people, yeah, I think on an open day, that if the only open day is a Wednesday, it would be something for a forum, and our community forums tend to draw a lot more people than that, our in-person ones. But we'll certainly keep that.
And Lisa Rogers has added, she'd be interested to understand what the state rules and guidelines are with respect to what P&Z Commission can and cannot vote on, approve, or disapprove.
Okay, and that's almost 100% state statute, Lisa. If you want to compose the actual section of the statutes that have to do with planning and zoning, it is pretty easy reading, believe it or not. It's a long section, but it's easy to read and understand. But most of that is dictated through state statutes because it's a legal entity that's making decisions based on land use, and so those are highly controlled. One of the things you guys will be most familiar with most recently is the fact the difference when we explain to you the difference between a special permit that requires a public hearing and it requires the Planning and Zoning Commission to at least consider 13 special considerations in terms of quality of life of what a special permit could impact us in terms of quality of life. That's versus a site plan review, which state statutes dictate that a permit that comes in under a simple site plan review does not require a public hearing, and there is no requirement on the commission to review any of the considerations having to do with quality of life. In fact, the state statute restricts the Planning and Zoning Commission from denying a site plan review if the site plan technically complies technically with the zoning regulations. So let me just put that another way. If someone submits a permit under a site plan review and their development plan complies with the existing zoning regulations, then there's no legal way for the zoning commission to deny it. And of course, if they deny it, then that always leads to legal appeals and costly things with that. So one of the things you guys have seen ENNA fight against at the city and state level is the fact now that many of the things in East Norwalk and throughout the city that formerly required a special permit, which helps to protect our interests, have now been converted over to simple approval through site plan review. But there's lots of things like that, Lisa, and it's super interesting reading, or maybe just to, geeks like me with this type of stuff. But I'm certainly will post the statute in the weekend email, and folks can take a look at it. And then if you have specific questions to it, I can answer that as well. Okay. Nobody else in chat or any hands up. Okay, and then the next thing in line with civic events, but more fun, is another request that we get all the time, and I get them offline or even when I bump into people, is people really want to see ENNA have at least one social event a year. Some of the other neighborhood associations do this, and civic groups, for example, and it's not that we're opposed to doing it. It's just that it a lot of people want to have this, but no one wants to step up to help. There's just no nicer way to say it than that. So I'm speaking on behalf of the board. We're very open to having a social event, specifically like in the spring or summer, and someplace where it could be for residents and meet and greets, and maybe have some entertainment and certainly food and maybe adult beverages even. But we would need kind of like a little ad hoc committee who's willing to step up and work on this in terms of, getting some ideas and feedback on where, when, how, and we can do this. I don't think that funding would be an issue, even if it's something where I think if people RSVP'd, and I think some of the other groups do something where maybe like, you contribute $5 per person towards the cost of it. And I know in the past, some of the other groups have done things at what used to be Ripka's down at the beach, but Clyde no longer has that operation for the city, and it's gone out to bid, but we don't know who that's going to be awarded to run the whole food concession down there at the beach. Not that it has to be at the beach, but if you're interested in having ENNA do this, and I would love to do this, I think it's a great thing for us to do. We do need people to step up, so you can email into us and let us know. And then if you're able to help, that's great. And if you just have an idea on where you might like to do it and the type of event you'd like to have, it doesn't have to just be food and booze. If it's some sort of a social event that's interactive, we'd be open to that too. So send that in to us. And I think really definitely after the last couple of years we've had, we really need to have a little fun and be together and get to know each other more, and for you guys to know us, which, by the way, I don't have it on this slide because I don't want to be a broken record again. But we are still looking for people to come on and be active board members. And we really, really need that. And the only requirement that we have is that you live in East Norwalk proper, 06855, and that your goals and your interest in East Norwalk align with our mission statement. And that's about it. So if you're interested in hopping on the board to help us, it's Sarah can attest to this. It's not a big commitment. We just need to be able to have bodies.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. And then finally, another thing that just came up recently in my travels about town and the other stuff I do with the ENNA is a possible partnership with the Marvin Senior Housing and possibly Ludlow Commons senior housing, which is actually through the city, and then the Marvin is just low income senior housing, but beloved in our community. One of the ideas that came up recently when I was over there at the Marvin on other business was talking to the gals there about the fact that and a lot of people may not know this, but at the Marvin, that literally is low income senior housing, and so there is a break point for how much someone can earn and be able to live there. Well, unfortunately, with the cost of living right now, and reduction in benefits for some folks, and other things that are going on. There are some residents at the Marvin who are struggling. And one of the things that were shared with me from the staff there is that even recently they had a resident who said, in all my life, I've never had to visit a food pantry, and now I do. So just want people to be aware of that. And one of the things that that we were thinking of, and no, Sarah, I haven't had a chance to talk with you about this yet, but I did with Chumley and Roberta and George, is to take a look at maybe doing some sort of a partnership, either something like Adopt a Senior or just a partnership where ENNA can help to coordinate with the community for what the needs may be. And as I understand it, they don't need clothes or anything like that. What they really need is like gift cards, even small amount gift cards for like ShopRite or Stop and Shop or pharmacies. And that can really help to supplement, like even a $10 gift card, could be some milk and eggs. And my husband does all the shopping, so I don't really know these prices, but I would hope that a small gift card could get, milk and eggs and a loaf of bread, for someone there at the Marvin to kind of tide them over, or something that they may need at the drugstore that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get, and then possibly tie in with Ludlow. But our primary focus first would be on the Marvin, and so we'd love to get some feedback on that either tonight or again. You can email in and let us know your thoughts on that. And I'll continue to look into how we can do that. The other thing that I spoke about with them is that if what we were looking to do, there's only 49 units, apartment units in the Marvin. And so it's really not that big a group. But one of the things that I was thinking about is if we were looking to do an ENNA, get enough folks together to do an Adopt a Senior. But if we knew ahead of time that we're just not going to get 49 people to, adopt someone, that for the people that would sign up to adopt a senior and maybe do a gift card once a month, that we would leave it up to staff to determine who those get to distributed to each month. Because staff at the Marvin, they know specifically who has the greatest needs there, and we would just trust them to be able to distribute what we're able to get over to them in gift cards and things, to the people that need it most. Okay, so that's basically what I have for right now. I know that ran through a little bit longer than we wanted to. Sarah, I think there's more stuff in chat, but if you want to check the hands, we'll just open this up to questions and comments. And let me just stop sharing here
too. I don't see no other hands right now. Some nice comments about people who would like to hang out with local wise folks and willing to adopt seniors or be adopted, or it's all in the chat.
Okay. All right. And I do get a transcript of this. So thanks for these comments here. Oh yeah, I'm seeing some of these right now. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, thank you, everyone. That's great. Okay, let me just do a quick time check here, and just after 8 o'clock. So I don't see any hands raised either. So if no one has any questions or comments or suggestions or anything else, is Becca still on? Yeah, she
sure am.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but at the last meeting you were asking me if I knew about the time frame for the striping for bike lanes and stuff at Cemetery. But then I think you had a bike walk committee meeting that was right after that, and I wondered if you were able to get that information.
We did, and as I recall, Cemetery did not come up. But if you talk about something else for 5 minutes, I will check the minutes.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks. Yep. Or maybe get that for us next month too. But just so that we can keep on top of that portion of whatever that project is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I'm not seeing anything else either, but thank you to everybody and whatever holidays you're observing. We hope everybody has healthy, happy, safe, and fun holidays. And a reminder that next month is going to be on January 20th, and watch your emails. Thanks for clapping there, Scott.